Hey, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there. I had a trip that's been planned for a while, so we're going to do this with the magic of technology, as long as the old men I work with can figure it out. We'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to be talking about nutrition again. And today we're going to go over some of the pitfalls and problems people tend to have. Okay. And before I go over this, I want to talk again about maintenance calories. Okay. So your maintenance calories are the calories that you need to maintain your body weight. Okay. So any fewer calories than this, you're going to lose weight. Any more calories than this, you're going to gain weight. So unless you're trying to actually gain muscle and get bigger, you need to keep your calories at maintenance to stay where you're at, or be somewhat below it to lose weight. Okay. And this is something that can be kind of easily figured out just by tracking your body weight and paying attention to what you eat. All right. Now, along the lines of calories, there's one thing you need to understand, and that there's always going to be a trade-off. Okay. We do not need to demonize foods here, and we need to not think of foods as good or bad, or sometimes we think of things as evil, like bad, evil foods, and really it's not that way. It's just that certain foods are going to be more flavorful and more caloric, and other foods are going to be a little less flavorful, but that means you can eat more of them and get more full without getting too many calories. Okay, so we need to think about this from looking at our ancestors. Food tastes good to us when it has a lot of calories, because our ancestors lived in a time where there wasn't the abundance of food we have now. Okay, so body fat was gained as a survival mechanism for times when there wasn't that much food. So to kind of incentivize the idea of eating more food and gaining some fat, which is a totally preposterous idea to us now, they would actually be searching out more flavorful foods because it contained more calories. Well, fast forward a few thousand years, and we found a way to have abundance and have ways of making super calorie dense foods that taste amazing and are actually designed to make us want to eat more of them. Billions of dollars are spent on making these foods taste so good that we just want to nonstop eat them. So now we have the opposite problem. Okay. But kind of a hack for this is to think about foods as flavorful or filling. Okay. So tasty foods are going to have a lot of calories, but you can't eat that many of them. Nutrient dense but not very caloric foods aren't going to taste as good, but you can eat more of them and be more full. So it's kind of a trade-off, and it just depends which one you do and which way you can sustain your diet the best. Okay. Now, the first pitfall that I'm going to talk about is the idea of trying to lose weight too fast. All right. This is one of the major ones people tend to have. A healthy rate and a sustainable rate of fat loss is about 1% per week of your body weight. So, if you're 100-ish pounds, that's about a pound. If you're 200-ish pounds, it's about 2 pounds. And if you're a bigger person, it's going to be somewhere around the 3 pound range. Okay. Now, the first few weeks of a diet, you are going to lose quite a bit of weight early on, largely from water, especially a low carb diet. Carbohydrates bring water into the muscles. Okay. So for every gram of carbohydrates you have stored in your muscles as glycogen, there are 4 grams of water. Well, when you get into a calorie deficit, especially if you're not eating very many carbs, those carbohydrates come out of the muscle and the water goes with them. So you're going to lose a large amount of weight very quickly. early on. And then people wonder why that weight loss doesn't sustain. Well, because it wasn't fat, all right, or not all of it was fat. So don't be, don't let that mess with your head if you lose a lot of weight fast and then it slows down. We're wanting to be about 1 to 3 pounds a week. Okay. And the longer it takes to lose the weight, the easier it is to keep the weight off. And the less of a rebound you're going to have if you go back to eating more normally. Okay. So along with that, and probably the number one mistake people make is they over restrict their diet. Okay. So with this, number one, be patient. Okay. Don't want to rush into your goal. Okay. Remember, A to B, B to C. Don't try to jump from A to Z. That's not going to work. A lot of times I'll hear people say, this diet worked for me. Okay. Name any diet that's out there. It worked for me many times. Okay. Well, by definition, if it worked many times, it didn't work. Okay. You may have lost weight, but if you have to do it again, you've gained the weight back. And a diet is only good as your ability to adhere to it, even after you lose the weight. Now you can adjust and you can go back to eating maintenance calories afterwards, and you should do that once you lose the weight you want to lose. But if you've had to diet and then you rebound from it and go back usually heavier than you were before, and then you use that diet again and then you rebound again, that diet didn't work for you. You need to figure out a way to do it so that you can do that forever. Okay. Because you're going to need to find ways to control your calories, even after your weight is lost. Okay. Now not as much, but at least some. Another problem, and this kind of should go without saying, is under restriction. If you're not restrictive enough, you're not going to lose weight. Okay. It's that simple. So people, usually the problem with this is people aren't understanding how many calories that they're actually taking in. A lot of times people will say calorie tracking doesn't work. Okay. And that's simply wrong. What is true about it is most people just don't know how to accurately track their calories or understand how many calories they're actually getting in. Okay. Calorie labels legally can be off by 20%. All right. So in a 2,000 calorie diet, if they're off by 20%, and you're actually tracking everything perfectly, you can be taking in 2,400 calories. Okay. So obviously that's not going to help you lose weight if you're doing that. So you need to be able to, you got to also track your weight loss as you're doing it and adjust from there. And at first that used to kind of make me angry that they allowed them to do that, but it's kind of necessary. Think about a food think about meat of any kind. Well, not all cows are going to have exactly the same amount of meat, or chicken, even a healthy food like chicken breast. You can have 2 chickens that are totally different fat, and they're both going to be put in as chicken breasts, but one's going to have more calories than the other, but they'll be labeled the same. Kind of like if this is a morbid thought, but if we were doing, ground human, all right, and they had me, Scott, and Phil there. Obviously, you're eating me, it's going to be the super lean, 93.7. Scott will be a little bit more than, and then Phil's going to be like that 80-20 or something like that. So now you can see how that could actually work there. All right. Most people also tend to underestimate serving sizes. So you need to, and you don't have to do it forever, but at some point weigh them so you know what a tablespoon actually is. All right. Peanut butter is notoriously bad for this. A serving of peanut butter, as you can see in the picture, is 2 tablespoons. Well, most people don't understand that that's 2 tablespoons. Instead, they think the bottom picture of 3 tablespoons is 1 tablespoon. And so then they do 2 of those and they're getting 6 tablespoons. Well, now they're getting 3 times the calories from peanut butter that they thought they were. That's a major problem. Okay, and remember, 10 extra calories a day over a year is a pound of fat. Over 10 years, that's 10 pounds of fat. Okay, so we need to be kind of careful and really look into what we're eating here. Another problem people run into is a lack of preparation. So make sure you have a plan for any of the obstacles that come up. I'm traveling this weekend, so I am not going to have the food I normally eat. I've made those plans though. I have food that's going to be there. I'm going to get all the same foods, and I'll be eating like I would be eating if I wasn't traveling. Okay, I've taken care of that beforehand, but I couldn't just get up there and hope it happens. All right, meal prepping is a good way to do this. Shopping, when you shop, have a list of foods. Don't go in there and just get what sounds good or what feels right, because in the moment you're probably going to pick something not that healthy. Okay, and then when you go to eat out, look at the menu beforehand. Before you even get there, I tend to always do that. What is there that's not going to be total garbage calorie wise? All right, and then stick to that. Don't think, okay, I'm going to eat the chicken breast and grilled vegetables, and then the waiter comes and you're like, I'll take the chicken fettuccine, because there's a big difference in calories between those two. Please don't fall for quick fixes and diet fads. Think about this. It had to take quite a bit of time to gain the weight that you've gained. Okay, if you have, but most people think they can take years to gain weight and then they should take weeks to lose it. You need to be thinking in terms of months, and several of them, to do it in a way that's actually healthy. Fads and quick fixes work by over restriction or are just outright lies, like these images here. Those are real. Okay, people actually advertise with that. If you lose 44 pounds in 2 weeks, something is medically wrong with you. All right, it's not going to be fat. When you break down the calories of that, you would be in about a 10,000 calorie deficit per day. That's not going to work, especially not just from taking one gummy a day. Anything like that is an outright lie. So remember, that's not going to do it. And those are going to lead to long-term problems. You may have short-term success, but you're going to have long-term problems afterwards. Another problem people tend to have is caloric beverages. This is my biggest issue. Soda has 140 to 160 calories per can. That is a lot, and people will get as many as 1,000 calories a day from soda. Diet, replace it with diet soda. Okay, learn to like it. High calorie coffee, people don't even count these, and you could be drinking 600 calories just from one drink. And we also have to remember, serving sizes have increased greatly. A bottle of soda used to be like that big, and now it's like that big. That's a big difference and can lead to a lot of weight gain or just crash a diet. Okay, alcohol tends to be another problem. Protein and carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fat has 9. Alcohol has 7. Your body's not really designed to metabolize or use 7. So when you drink it, your body views it as a toxin. All right. So then what happens is any food that you eat while you're drinking the alcohol tends to be stored as fat, because your body says, we'll deal with this later because we're going to prioritize getting rid of this toxin. Well, you're automatically stored all that as fat instead of using it for energy, which is not good. Okay, so if alcohol is something you want in your life, just make sure you're keeping this in mind, because a lot of times when people eat while drinking, it's not very healthy food, and it tends to be very calorically dense. Another problem is people focus too much on the scale. Okay, remember, weight loss does not equal fat loss. All right, so you may be losing fat, but not really moving the scale much, especially if you're lifting, because you might be building muscle. Okay. The other thing is weight loss or fat loss isn't linear. Okay. It tends to stair step, plateau a little bit, and then dip even more. And it tends to work like this. Okay. So don't be frustrated if you're in a little bit of a plateau. Stick to your plan. Okay. What are your struggles? We're all going to have different struggles. Stick to your plan. Find methods of dealing with it. Okay. If you have struggles, share it with me at the Inner Circle email. Okay. Let us know and we'll see if we can help you find ways to go around those obstacles. Okay. Remember, weight loss is simple, but simple isn't easy. Okay. So what we don't want to do is overcomplicate things. Find the method that works the best for you. There are many that work. Okay. The other thing, this is a big problem people tend to have. Do the least you can do to get results, okay, at that time. And always try to have a card to play, okay? So let's say you're doing time restriction as your method. Don't start out eating only one meal a day. Where are you going to go from there when you quit losing weight or when it slows down? 0 meals a day? No. Start with maybe like a 10-hour feeding window or a 12-hour feeding window even. And then cut that down over time, or cut out one snack a day and then maybe another as that weight loss slows down. Don't jump all in, because at some point it's going to slow down and you need something else to turn to. Okay. The same thing goes when it comes to cardio. Don't like jump in going 100 miles an hour. Do what you can do and still lose a little bit of weight. And then as that slows down, go a little bit harder. Okay. I want to review our 3 levers real quick. First, we got time restriction, or when you eat. So just limit either the number of meals you eat a day, get rid of snacks, or have a time window that you can then shrink over time. But only do that as the weight loss slows down. If it's working, don't change it. Okay, stick to it until it's not working anymore. And make sure that's over several weeks, not just like a day. Okay. The next is calorie restriction, or how much you eat. Okay, so eating less when you eat. Okay, you can use the hand portion method. You can meal prep, use smaller plates, or just cut down your fats and carbs. And then dietary restriction, or what you eat. And quite frankly, this is just eating like an adult. Okay, cut out the ultra processed foods or limit them. Okay, they can make up 10 to 20% of your calories, but make sure everything else is really good. Try to stick to the outside aisles of the grocery store. Remember to get your protein, 1 gram per pound of your goal weight, or roughly 4 to 6 palms a day. Okay, things like chicken, fish, any kind of meat, eggs, a lot of the dairy products, things like that. Protein shakes are good. I like to tell kids, usually anything that had a face, eat that for your protein. If you're a vegan, you're going to have to work a little bit harder, because most plant sources aren't complete proteins, which means they're not really giving you all the amino acids you need. Okay. So your goals: hit your protein goal, use the method of restriction that keeps you in a deficit, and don't really worry, if you don't want to, about the ratio of carbs and fats. If you like low carb, do low carb. If you like low fat, do low fat. That doesn't really matter as long as you're in a deficit and getting your protein. Okay, so here are your tasks for this week. 5 days this week, I want you to pull the lever that you enjoy pulling the most. Okay, if you don't have a favorite one, do the one you're most likely to stick to. Okay, and then 2 days this week, I want you to pull 2 levers. Okay, so if you do time restriction, I want you to do that every day this week. And then 2 of those days, whichever are the most convenient for you, also limit the portion sizes a little bit, or the quality of the foods you're eating, or whatever combination of those 2 or the 3. Do 2 of those, whichever 2 you want. Okay, eat your gram of protein or your 4 to 6 servings. Keep strength training, always trying to progress with either more sets and reps, or a little bit more weight. Okay, or here's another thing, maybe better form. That's another way you can progress. All right, and then continue walking that we added last week. All right, and with that, I will turn you over to my friends to give you some wisdom. Thanks.